everyone, welcome. I hope you guys are excited to learn more about photography. I wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone that participated in last week's class. Last week was colors, and it was really great seeing all the different colors that you guys are seeing in your neck of the woods. It's springtime here in Winnipeg, and we're starting to see a little bit of color. But it was really great to get all kinds of colorful photos in and see what you guys are seeing. So for today's class, class number 2, we are going to be exploring shapes and the different ways in which we see shapes. So the goal in this class is that we're going to explore the different shapes that are out there and then start looking at the different angles or the different points of view that we can take photos at to try and understand how we can show others a different way of seeing things. How does that sound? Okay, great, let's get started. So what you guys are going to need for today's class is your camera. Now, you can use any type of camera that you have. You can use an iPad, you can use a point and shoot camera, you can even use your phone, or maybe your mom or dad's phone. Whatever you guys have access to, that's great. Those cameras are going to work really well. I'm also going to get you guys to, after you're done taking photos, get a paper and something to write with, and I'll explain more in the assignment section of the video what you're going to need to do with that. So let's start off by talking about shapes. You guys all know what shapes are? Yeah, that's right. So we've got examples like a circle. My watch has a circle on it. There's things like triangles, rectangles, ovals, squares. There's all kinds of shapes out there, right? And shapes can occur naturally. So they can occur like a watch is a circle. It's a concrete example. Our fridges are rectangular. Our computers are rectangular. But you can also have examples that occur in nature that may not be so obvious. So I'm going to show you guys a few examples of some more concrete examples of shapes, as well as some abstract examples of shapes. So things you might have to look a little bit harder for. How does that sound? All right, so here's a few examples for you guys. So here is an example of circles that might occur outside. You might find them as you're walking down the street. Here we have an example of a square and a triangle in one object. This is a mailbox. This is an example of a rectangle. We have our doorway. A circle could be a doorknob. There's also a rectangle in this photo. Can you see it? Yeah, it's where the box that goes around the door handle that holds it to the door. We can have what's called an octagon. A stop sign has 8 sides to it. There's also a rectangle below the stop sign where it says 4-way. Now, you can have an object that has multiple shapes. So in this case here, we have a basket on the back of a bike, and we've got the basket itself is a square. We also have triangles in where the handle part of the basket is, and there's also long rectangles sort of around the sides of the basket. There's also an oval around the name of the box. I think it says Silverwoods. So there's a circle around there as well, or an oval around there. Oh, you're right, there is a circle in the Allez Bleu sticker that's just below the handle. Here's another example where you can have a shape inside of an object. So here we have a gate, and there's circles within the gate to look through. You can also have multiple shapes, multiple of one shape. So here we have a clock, and there's 3 rings around the clock face. So we have 3 circles, one within each other. It can also be somewhat abstract. This here is a climbing jungle gym at one of the playgrounds near me, and we have the jungle gym itself creates a bit of a triangle. Abstract can also be meaning that you don't know exactly what it is. So here we have a couple of squares, but we're not quite sure what they are a part of. It's more close up, so we can't quite tell where it belongs. What is it? It creates kind of a mystery. This is also an example of an abstract triangle. Here I am sort of crouching down to the bottom of a tree, and there's a little kind of nook in there, and the framing of it makes a triangle. Here's an example of some abstract circles. Now, can anybody guess what this is? This is a close-up of the insides of a music player. So we can't tell what it is because we can't see the entire object, but if we get in close, we can take a photo of an abstract circle. Now, abstract shapes can also occur in nature. Can anyone see what kind of shape the clouds are forming? So there's a couple of them. Right in the middle, there is a triangle. And then if you sort of look at the entire with the streaks of where the plane tails have flown, we have a bit of a rectangle. So shapes can occur anywhere, and they can be sort of real examples, or they can be abstract, like when you look up in the clouds and you see various shapes. Now, one of the really cool things about photography is that we can change our angle of view or our point of view in how we see things in order to change how our photos look. So, what does this mean? Well, normally when we take a picture, we take our camera and we put it up in front of our face and we take a picture like so. Click. So we're just using one viewpoint. But what happens if we look up high, we get down maybe on the ground and we look at things from below and take a picture? Or if we get up high and we look down and take a picture? How does that change your picture? What we want to start doing is exploring different ways of taking pictures. So getting low on the ground or getting high up or looking down on something. So you're high up and what you're taking a picture of is down below. I've got a few more examples of you guys to sort of show what it looks like to take photos from a low point of view where you're looking up, or from you standing up above to taking a look down at things. And you can see how it changes the perspective of your photo. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at a few different examples of the different angles of view in which you can take your photos. So here I have a bowl of fruit, and I decided to get above to take a photo and see how that changed the look of the photo. Now you can also get below, and that completely changes the look of the photo. So two examples of the same bowl of fruit, but we're taking them from very different angles of view. So we'll start by taking a look at a few examples of looking at things from a lower point of view. So getting down below and looking up. Sometimes it's called a worm's eye view. So here is when you look up and you see what's above you. You can even get on the ground and look up and see what's above you. So if we take a look at this lamppost here, we're looking up and what do we see? We see the circles that are part of the lamppost. And here, looking up at a building, we can see an open window. Here we've got squares and we've got rectangles, but by looking up, it looks completely different than if we were looking straight on. Here, looking up at a playground, we can see ovals and we can see circles. And by looking up at this building, We can see a triangle, we can see rectangles, and there's also some squares in this photo. And another example from a playground, looking up at the monkey bars. Here we sort of have rounded edges, but we also have squares in between each of the monkey bars. So by simply looking up, it changes the perspective and it changes the look of the photo. Here there is an airplane monument that I'm looking up at, and by standing underneath the wing of the plane, I can look up and I can see the circles of the wheels of the plane. There's also some circles on the wing, but by looking up, it's very different than if I was above the plane. So to see what looking up looks like versus looking down, here I have an example of the gondola. We've got the rectangular gondola that you ride up a mountain on, standing at the bottom. And then again, here's the same gondola, but now I'm on the top of the mountain, looking down. Two very different perspectives. So, the other way in which you can change the look of your photos is by getting up and looking down at something. Here, standing on the rooftop of the parkade at the Forks in Winnipeg, if we stand up here, we get to look down on the stage and the bridge and the trees that are down below. Here's an example of me taking a picture of something super small. There's little mushrooms. Now, I'm standing above, but I'm not super high above the mushrooms. So it can be either you can stand way up tall on something, or you can crouch down and get on top of something smaller. So here is what the mushrooms looked like. So I got on top of them and got close so that I could get a different angle of perspective on the mushrooms. And you can change your position around a little bit. So crouch really low, crouch a little bit low, stand up tall, but you're gonna get very different angles of views on the different things that you see. Another example of standing above something and looking down is here on a swing in the park. So by standing over top of the swing, I get a very different look of the photo. Here I've got an example of a shuffleboard, and I stood right over top of it to get the button right in the middle of the photo. So very different look than if I was standing down at eye level or if I was standing off to the side. And I have a picture here of a keyboard. So I'm standing again over top of it looking down. Very different than if I was sitting and looking straight directly at the keyboard. So here is an example with one object, all the different ways in which you can take a photo of it. So here I have a guitar and I'm looking straight at it. So it's a fairly straight on how we'd pick up our cameras and take a photo of it. Now I changed my angle of view of how I was taking the photo. First, I started off by standing above and looking down at the guitar. Notice how different the guitar looks? Then I moved off to the side. Again, by simply changing my position, my point of view, it changes the look of the photo. And then I got down on the ground and looked up at the guitar to change the perspective one more time. So I'm looking at it from down below, looking up. And then I got really close to it to see if it changed it even more. I'm still looking down, or still on the ground, looking up at the guitar. So these are all some really interesting examples of ways in which you can change the look of your photo simply by changing your angle of view or your point of view. Okay, so for today's assignment, what I'd like you to do is take 30 minutes or so taking pictures of photos. You can go out every day, you can go inside, you can go outside, and look for things that are shapes or that have shapes in them. And I want you to explore all the different angles or the different ways in which you can take your photos. So get down low, get up high and look down on something, maybe go from the side and take a look at things. And once you're done taking photos over those couple of days, I want you to look through all the photos that you've taken and have a chance, maybe go through it with a parent, maybe with your mom or your dad. Maybe you've got a brother or sister that is interested in some of the photos you've taken, and show them those photos and talk about why you like some of the things that you do. Do you like certain angles more than others? I know for me, I like getting down really low when I'm taking pictures. I'm always crouching down to see how things look from that angle. And then, once you've had a chance to review and sort of talk through your photos with either your parents or your brother or sister, what I want you to do is to pick 5 photos, and then you're gonna, if you're participating, send those in to me. So parents, again, here's the email address that you can submit those photos to. And I'm gonna, again, on Friday, put together a slideshow so that we can all see the different photos that we're taking. I'm really hoping that there's people all across Canada, all across the world maybe even. Maybe this will reach some people in other places. I'm based here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So if you want, you can also include where it is you're coming from, where your photos are coming from, and we'll put that up on the slideshow too. So that's the goal, is 5 photos, and 5 of your favorite photos, and you're gonna send those in to me, and then we'll get to see everybody's photos. Now, part 2 of this assignment is I want you to take those favorite photos, and I want you to write or maybe draw a story about those photos that tell people what that photo means to you. So you can write out a couple of sentences, kind of a short story to tell or describe what that photo means to you. Or if you want, you can maybe draw a picture that goes alongside your photo to tell the story of that photo. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun exploring shapes and looking at things differently. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys are seeing things, whether you're crouching down or standing tall looking down on something. So until next time, thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Oh, one last thing. If you guys want, you can subscribe to my channel. Click on the subscribe button just below, and that way you'll get updates when there are new classes. Thanks again, guys. Bye.